We don't do the wholesaling. If you want to do wholesaling, talk to these two. Oh, talk to these two. You want to do land? Okay, that's wholesaling. I don't do a lot of wholesaling. We do a lot of novations. Okay, a little bit more money in novations than there is in wholesaling, but it takes a lot longer. That cash conversion is huge. Okay, with that, guys, I truly believe in having a mentor. I truly believe in coaching. I have a coach right now. Even though I've been doing it for 31 years, I have a coach that I pay. But guys, I do have some stuff out behind Danny here. We have a community that we have. That community, we meet every Tuesday at 3 o'clock Phoenix time. We're on until all the questions are answered, okay? And it can be from lease options to acquisitions to novations. Don't care what it is. If I've done it, I'll answer it for you. We also have a course. My course is not here to make me money, okay? This course is very, very valuable. Tony and everybody tells me I have it way undervalued at $9.97 right now, but that's what we're running. It's $9.97. You get all of our scripts, all of our documentation, all of our disclosures for sub-2 wraps. You get all of our lease options. You get our scripts when it comes to lease options. You get all of our seller finance stuff, all of our private money stuff, all of our notes, all of our deeds of trust. You get everything. I probably got $30,000 to $40,000 just in paperwork from our attorneys. You get all that for $1,000. At the same time, you get a month free of the community. Come in, sample it, see what you like. If you stay in the community, now you have access to me. And I'm pretty damn responsive to my students. I was on with calls right before you guys walked in the door, taking care of some of my students because they had urgencies, okay? The other thing that we have going on, we have a big mastermind coming up February 28th and March 1st in office that we are actually going to break down this entire business, but more so we're going to break down your guys' business. How can we help you get to that next level and put that mailbox money in your hip pocket if that's what you're wanting to do? Guys, take videos, take photos, tag me, tag all these guys because it'll get out there. Thank you for these guys tagging because that's how some of you guys learned about this meetup. That's what networking's all about, helping out each other, the collaboration, and really making it work for all of us. Guys, I told you I'd give you a free gift. You're going to get 1 free month of community for just coming today. Okay, you signed up. It will be going back out to you. Join the community. See what it's all about. See if it's worthwhile for you. Ask questions, okay? At the same time, I will turn it over to Kirsten. Kirsten has been with me for over a year now. She is my dispo queen manager. She also does all of our transaction coordination. She's been in escrow for over 20 years. She knows more shit than I do. She's on with Tony's community. She helps a lot of his community get through deals that are just freaking nightmares. She's an ace with what she does. But I'll turn it over to her to kill us.
Yeah, to kill us.
Kill us.
All right, well, thanks for setting the stage, John.
Yeah, sure.
Before we get started, I have some questions to ask you guys. And I've already kind of pre-prepped you with what I'm expecting from you or what I've asked of you. But before we do that, can I get each of you to give like a 90-second elevator on who you are, where you are, and what you do so that they have a good perspective of what they can expect and what they can niche from you as we go through these more broader questions.
Yeah, Danny, go ahead.
Oh, wonderful. My name is Danny McBrinn, so I'm originally from Rockland County, New York. Moved out to Arizona in 2018, and in about 2019, I got into real estate and didn't really know anything about wholesaling or investing. I have no family in real estate or anything like that. Mostly just kind of figured everything out as I went along. Started my business with Kurt, my business partner there. And that was in about 2019, 2020. Started doing stuff, which started with wholesaling a couple years ago. Started getting into flipping, a lot of mobile homes, doing those deals. Have 19 rentals here in the Phoenix area and other parts of Arizona. I'm doing some private money lending, and it's all related to residential real estate investing. So, and that's that.
You're doing private money lending? Or
I'm doing private money lending, yeah. So.
Private money lender.
Yep.
Yeah, and he's a killer with what he does, man.
And thank you to John for putting this together, so, and having me.
Anthony Pappas, grew up here in the valley, used to be in the trades for a long time, saw a lot of guys drive up in way nicer trucks than me, doing a lot less work. I'm like, I wanna do that. Talked to one of them, like, what do you do? He's like, well, I structure the deals, I get the financing, blah, 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 and you should check out, real estate. I'm like, okay. I had a buddy that was an agent, and he's like, well, you should try it wholesale, because you don't have any money, and you need money to get into real estate. I know that's a contrary opinion.
No, you do not.
Contrary opinion. But started looking into wholesale, started banging phones, found my first deal, which John bought out in San Valley. It was a,
Still own it.
yeah, it was a sub two, didn't know what to do with it. I said, hey,
2019.
yeah, I was like, I don't know what to do with this thing, and he bought it, and then I started looking at wholesale full time, and saw with land there seemed to be less competition because a lot of people didn't understand it the same as everybody flipping houses. There was a ton of people doing houses at the time, ton of information out there, but nobody was really doing land like that, so it kind of fell into that niche because I built these houses and lots for other people. That's how I hit the ground running. And
You're killing it. Yeah, you wanna know about land? He's the guy.
I love that. Well, congrats to both of you, or all three of you, really.
Thank you.
All right, John, what was one deal or one mistake that completely changed how you approach real estate investing? Take us back to that moment, and then tell us what happened.
One deal, can I give you a whole deal or a whole deal? Let's put it this way. When we first started buying, I was a landlord. It got to the point that I was doing landlording and property maintenance. So whether it be plumbing, electrical, sheetrock, whatever, I did it all. I was working a full-time job, a 40, 50, 60-hour a week job, and it kept growing and growing and growing. I ended up bringing in my mentor as my partner, which is unreal. People just don't hear of that, but he became my partner, and we built up a portfolio of over 120-some doors right here in Mesa. The biggest thing is yes, we did that for multiple years. I did all the property management, I did all the maintenance. I had a full-time maintenance guy that worked for me. It got to be a major headache. We were only averaging $100 to $150 a door. Okay, so it wasn't a lot back then, and that's because of rentals. Rentals just don't produce. Most landlords don't realize they don't make a lot of money. They think they do until they start looking at the real books, if they're running real books. The biggest mistake is selling that stuff off. I wish I would have held on to it, even though they were rentals. I would have revamped it a little bit, and I wish they were still in my portfolio. I try not to sell anything anymore. I want to keep it, and because the asset just keeps building and building and building. So that was my biggest deal.
Big lesson, huh?
Big lesson, yeah.
Danny, same question. Do you need me to repeat it?
Yeah, if you could repeat it.
What was one deal or one mistake that completely changed how you approach investing? Take us back to that moment, and then tell us what happened.
I wouldn't say a general moment for me, which comes back to everything I do, is probably, just buying the deal deeper. All the money that you're ever going to make on every single thing that you do is initially when you first buy the deal. And if there's one thing you could legitimately control every single time, it's how deep you purchase the property. Because all the money that you make is when you buy the deal. And certain deals that have fucked up or gone sour, usually it's because I'm sitting on my Excel sheet and I'm wanting it to work so bad. And I'm taking numbers away from a reno or a selling cost, and as soon as you try to force something into what you think is a deal is probably when you're fucking up. So whether you're going direct to seller or purchasing from other wholesalers, the biggest variable that you can control is getting it at a deep discount. And if it's not at the discount that you want, then just passing on the deal.
So the lesson is pass, not every deal.
Yeah, pass on the deal and buy it deeper.
I can speak to that. I got a piece of land recently for free, and I was like, oh, it's a $20,000 lot. Yeah, I'll take a free piece of land because we bought one from her. Turns out the person that gave it to us knew that there was a little bit of a squatter situation. And I was like, oh, this will be easy. It's you go to court, you get them out of there. We're $18,000 later, we finally got the squatter out of there, and not everything is worth pursuing. And it was about 8 months of time, a whole lot of headache. It was.
Wow.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yes,
Wow.
that's a
Love
good.
that. Did you get rid of the deal?
We did, yeah.
Did you make any money?
No, we lost money.
You bought it for 20 grand. How did you?
No, we got it for
For
free.
and spent
Yeah,
20
we thought it was gonna sell
Holy
for 20. That
shit.
part of town kinda softened a little bit, so it finally sold at like 17.5. I think all into it for like 18,200. Bills are still coming in on that one. The attorney just sent me another $400. I'm like, what? We're done. Why is this? What is happening here? So,
Yeah.
to be, and that was just a weird situation. The guy owned the lot next to it. He thought he owned both, and he was living in a shed on the property and had an RV on his. So I was like, oh, it'd be easy, just move the stuff over. No, in Arizona, Maricopa County, if you evict someone from a property, you have to pay to have their stuff moved. And if they don't have somewhere to put it, you have to pay for a rental unit for a month.
Storage.
So all of this stuff just kept compiling on it. And yeah, and the funny thing, we got him evicted, he moved all his stuff out, and then he moved all of his stuff back. So the buyer that was buying it's like, hey, there's a dude living on this property in the shed. So we had to pay to get the equipment, drive out there, demo the structure, remove the septics he put in the ground. It was a whole lot of wasted time for not any money.
For
So,
no money,
yeah.
just money burning out of your pocket.
Exactly.
Well, I think that carries me right into, right, like that's a hard truth, right? So, what's a common piece of advice in real estate you think is completely overrated or just plain wrong, and why?
That most people don't realize they've done a land deal when they have. When you're getting a deed for a property, it's for the land. So if you've sold a house, you've done land. And understanding the difference that you can do with land, like can you split this lot, and having that general understanding of what can be done with the land, you can force appreciate a deal that most people can't make work. Like if you're looking at it from just a flip standpoint, but the lot's a double lot, everybody's looking at it like the numbers don't work, but if you split off that lot, you could have $100,000 of profit right there that everybody else has overlooked.
Love that.
Yeah.
Hopefully somebody took that as a note.
Dan's already done it back there.
Yeah.
Love that.
Probably that you need to be full-time to actually do this. I think that if you can set up your business a certain way, it's not something that, eventually you have to go full-time into something for sure. But if you're just starting out and you're working with the hours that you do have, you can figure it out by doing it kind of part-time or making calls. You do your 9 to 5, because most people like me, I didn't have, a bunch of money or a bunch of parents to kind of help me out with things. I was working from 6 p.m. to 12 p.m. at bars and restaurants, so finding ways to maximize your time, and you don't have to do it complete full time, but if you do a 9 to 5, you better be ready to clock in from 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. and eventually make that side hustle your main hustle.
I love that. I was actually talking to somebody about time management and how
Yeah,
to make
and you have to
that
make
work.
the sacrifice. That's just what it is. I did 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then I'd go work at a restaurant from 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. I did that for years. So
But you got out.
I did, yeah. And eventually it all replaced everything that it was.
I've got two. One, that you need money to buy real estate. No, you don't. We do it all day long. My team knows that. That's being the creative side. The other side of it is do you have to buy deep? Not the way we do it. I can actually pay over market value to make the deal work. So that's two major misconceptions.
Can you elaborate on that? Why can we pay over?
Because we look at cash flow. If I can make this thing cash flow, I don't care what I pay for it. And a lot of times you can do seller financing where the seller actually owns it free and clear, and maybe he wants $1 million for it. But if I can get that guy to take that payment that I need so I can still get my cash flow, we got a deal. And most of my seller finance stuff right now, we're all at 0% interest. I don't know if do we have any that we pay interest on right now? Yeah, they're all 0% interest, so that's another misconception.
Akron's like, they're interest only, but it's like perpetual.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting deal. But yeah, so yeah, and that's another one. You can buy stuff at 0% interest.
Okay. What's the riskiest deal you have ever done, and how did you manage either fear or fallout to get through it?
The riskiest deal?
Riskiest deal.
I don't put a lot of risk out there. I'm very conservative.
That's a good thing.
And that's what's kept me in the business for 31 years. It really is. It's the hardest deal that we've ever done is what he just commented on was Akron, and it has an underlying commercial loan on it, but on 3 houses. He only wanted to sell 2 of them. So because the third one was encumbered in this loan, he wanted to wrap that loan and do it seller finance, where he's wrapping the underlying note, which is fine. The third house threw a real twist into it. I honestly didn't know how to solve the problem. What did I do? Called my attorney. The attorney went, give me a day. And he figured it out and sent us the proper paperwork, and we took those 2 houses down. And what Jason was talking about, and Jason's my COO, so he's been with me since 2019. But how we put the deal together is this is an interest-only payment. We pay no principal to the guy, and I think it's at 6%?
It's like either 6 or 8, but he's also paying taxes and insurance.
Yeah, so the deal is he's paying all the taxes, he's paying all the insurance out of that, and the way it's written in the deal is I will do a finance out or a cash out deal with him only when it hits 75% loan to value and I have to take no money out of my pocket, which is going to be years down the road. These things cash flow $800 or $900 a month to me. And that was, I don't think that cost anything out of pocket, did it?
No, barely.
Yeah, because you want to get rid of them.
Entitlement. So when you're looking at land, you can force appreciate the lot through entitlement, where you get the plans approved, and then builders are more likely to pay you a premium because they know for a certainty this is the units we can build, everything's ready to go, they can start breaking ground. One I had recently, right before the market started to turn, I was about 340 grand of my own cash into it, and things started to go south. The city made us prove to them that the storm drain running through the property was no longer needed, even though they reroute that back in 2009. So just attorney fees on top of attorney's fees, and entitlement attorneys get expensive. The architect decided to go to Peru for 4 months without telling anybody. So all this time, I'm just watching the property lose value because less people are building multifamily, and so I just numb that with alcohol and nicotine.
Zins specifically.
So that was the managing of the fear and the fall.
Yeah, and then I learned from that though, how can I arbitrage some of that risk onto other builders, you can structure it where you just get a long entitlement period in the contract, so you're not having to close on the land, because I closed on the lot and paid everything cash. I was like, how can we do this differently? Now we'll get it under contract with a very long escrow period, so we got no money into the land, and now we're just risking the entitlement money, which is, it helped me sleep a lot better at night.
Probably 2 deals specifically. So I'm doing these curative title deals where I'm buying out essentially percentages of ownership. So if 2 owners own the property and they have a separate vested ownership, I'll buy out a percentage of the ownership. So I'll buy out 50% of a house pretty much, and then hopefully cordially work with the other owner to try to structure a deal to help sell it, but usually it ends up in a court proceeding, and it can get, pretty, like Anthony's saying, when you're working with attorneys, extremely expensive and stressful, and it's kind of a unknown sort of territory that I'm entering, and I'm doing most of the things completely wrong, but I'm kind of figuring out everything, everything as I go along, and that's kind of my mantra with everything is that, hey, I don't need to know all the exact information of everything. I'm just going to do it, course correct as I go, lean on good attorneys for professional advice, and I know that with the right resources and the right team members, whatever situation I'm in or I'm creating, I can get sorted out. So those deals are sticky but fun, and I'm learning a ton of new information through it. So
you would say like a true testament to like no analysis or paralysis over analysis.
Yes.
Like just go do and figure it out, and you can usually make your way through.
yes, and when you're
Just get
buying,
started too. Maybe
Yeah.
not leverage, like find a bigger boat, like go to Danny and say, hey, this guy only wants to sell half of his property. I don't want to throw 20 grand in an attorney and hope we get this done.
Yeah.
Can we structure a deal? Because we do that with a lot of entitlement deals where someone will bring us a lot and they're like, we don't know what to do
Yeah,
with this.
thank you.
Can you take it over? And that's when we'll take the risk, we'll front the money, and then they'll make good money on the back end.
and these are not things you can get loans for, really raise money for. I mean, I'm buying deals without title insurance too. So I'm fronting tens of thousands of dollars, and then attorney fees ranging from $10,000 to $50,000 a month. So
Got it. So you said when you got started, you didn't have any money, you didn't have a major support system or money to back up.
No.
But if you had $100,000 and you woke up tomorrow with $100,000 in your pocket, you had no properties, you had no connections, how would you invest it? What's the first thing you would do and why?
Casino, if you don't say
Casino, obviously, throw it on black and a couple other places I shouldn't go to. But no, I'm kidding. But I mean, like what John says, everything's coaching. It's tying to a bigger boat. The first thing I would do is invest my money into a coach, into someone that can help guide me, and that leftover money I would take from whatever their advice is. Obviously, they're a professional that I know, like, and trust. I would tie myself to their boat and get information from them, bring value to them somehow, whether that's, you have to pay someone. If you don't really have much value to bring to someone or resources or whatever, you have to respect their time and pay them for that. Don't ever try to be someone that's just taking. So I'd get a mentor, and then my leftover money, whatever my mentor would tell me to, for someone that I know and is pointing me in the right direction, I would get into wholesaling and start that way.
Just make sure that the mentor's actually doing the business.
Yes, that too. So
You get a lot of guys out there right now that aren't doing this, that are selling courses. You don't want to get with those guys.
John, what about you?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
If you woke up with $100,000, like you do every day, what would you do with it, and how would you do it if you had no connections, no properties, just a blank slate?
Black sense.
What's that?
Black sense.
Yeah. In my, I like to look at it from being the bank all the time. If you can be the bank, that's the ultimate in real estate investing, period. I mean, look at the skyscrapers down there. It's the banks that own it. It's because of the way they do it. If you can take that $100,000 and take that and don't buy one house, but buy 5 houses with $20,000 down, do that, start building that portfolio. If you get that going, theoretically with our model, if you got 5 houses times $600 a door, what do you got coming in? Plus the $15,000 worth of option fees coming in. That's where I would start it and start building it up from there. And then start doing DSCR loans, refinancing back out, and turning that money again.
So I would, back to hiring coaches, because that's exactly what I did. How I got into this is I didn't realize I was getting into real estate before I did, but I always buy rough houses and fix them up, because I knew that side of things from the trade, so I was actually able to do that. Flip my first house, pocketed 80 grand, and that's when I was able to quit my job and go full time, because I had that nest egg set aside to cover my mortgage for a while on the new fix and flip that I was living in, or live and flip, whatever you want to call it. That and the coaching, I've spent more in coaching than probably most people, because I'm fair. But because I'm always optimistic too, and trying to find that next level up. Who can I get to tie to a bigger boat? And you're gonna spend some money, and there's gonna be some coaches, that were not doing it, and I didn't vet them well enough, and I lost some money on. But everything that you don't lose, you just learn. So that's what I'm big on, spending the money to stand on the shoulders of giants and do it right.
I love that.
Can I intervene just a second?
Yeah.
Michelle, how much have we spent on coaching on that one coaching deal we did? It's like $25,000. The biggest waste of frickin' money there was. We didn't get anything out of it.
what's his name? Tony Mont.
No, it's actually Tarek's.
Oh.
Everybody knows who Tarek is, or should. It was his stuff, and it wasn't worth a shit.
It was like the fortune builders.
Yep.
Anthony, fast forward 20 years from now. When someone else looks back on your real estate career, what do you want to be known for, and how are you currently building that legacy?
I hope nobody knows me in 20 years and I'm living on a ranch away from the world.
That's fair.
That's the goal.
That's fair.
Just that I was ethical and honest, and that I left a path for other people to follow my footsteps, because it's just try to pay it forward, because a lot of people helped me when I didn't feel I deserved it or wasn't ready for it. So I appreciate all the people that helped me get to where I am today, and try to pass that forward.
Are you currently coaching or mentoring anybody?
Not in a formal sense. Like, I like to work with people that maybe need some help trying to figure out how to structure a deal, and if I have the time, I love to give people and try to help them get their first deals going, because the whole goal is for me not to eat off every deal you make. It's to get you to a point where you can do it full time on your own. But if I can help people along the way, I'm more than happy to.
How do people get a hold of you for that?
Instagram and stuff
Instagram?
like that, yeah.
What was the question again?
Fast forward 20 years,
Okay.
when someone looks back at your real estate career, what do you want to be known for, and how are you building that legacy today?
I mean, just showing up every day. Someone that, no matter how I feel, no matter what I'm going through, no matter what's on my mind, I'm doing the same religious habits that I do every single day. I'm going to the gym, I'm taking care of myself, I'm eating the same food I eat every single day. I'm working the same hours that I do every single day. So like what Tony posts all the time, and I do as well, it's like the discipline that you have day in and day out is what's going to lead you to 20 years of success. Because 20 years of success is broken down into extremely small micro habits done over a very long period of time. So
You eat the same Chipotle burrito on the outside of a paper bag every fucking
yes, and she makes fun of the food I eat sometimes. So she thinks it's weird that I rip open my Chipotle bag and then eat on it. So
It's Chipotle. It's fucking
Builds
gross.
the immune system.
yeah, it does. So.
But anyways, my eating habits are not on panel today. John?
I have to go back to what you said, just the ethical side of stuff. I love teaching the students, being available for them, giving them value, and seeing them grow their net worth and their cash flow coming in. My whole philosophy behind what I'm doing is generational wealth for my kids. And what I'm doing here will outlive me for years, and will set my kids up for basically life if they control it correctly.
But you don't just do that for your students. You like hardcore preach that within this
In the group.
organization.
Mhm.
You are pushing every single person to,
You're
purchase
right.
property and create that same wealth. So
Yes.
I think you don't take it just outside for your
No.
students, but just also for the people that are affiliated with you in the organization.
We do. So something in our organization we do a little different than most is I don't buy everything, and if I don't buy it and it's still a decent deal, I pass it out to anybody that's working for me, and I'll show them how to buy it with no money out of pocket and get that positive cash flow coming in. The last one that was they're making it like a $600 or $700 positive cash flow, zero money out of their own pocket. So that's what it's all about. She's getting ready to buy a deal right now that'll produce it's about $600 positive cash flow. So it's stuff out there. That's what I like to see. I want to see staff members. I want to see the students grow, and that's why I'm still here. A year and a half ago, I was kind of semi-retired. My wife could tell you. I was living in our cabin most of the time. I wasn't here, and then these guys picked everything up between Tony and her. Now I'm coaching, and I'm a deal junkie, major deal junkie. So that's why I'm still here.
Question one more time.
What's one mistake you see new investors making over and over again that makes you want to shake them and say, stop doing that, and then teach them how to avoid it?
Pick a lane. Find a niche and stick with it. Because if you're trying to do everything all at once, you're gonna get outperformed by somebody that's just in it. Like the reason I'm able to do land at a high level is I eat, sleep, and breathe that. If a house comes in through my network, I pass it off to somebody in the community and say, I don't do this. The only times I've really lost money in real estate was when I got outside of my expertise and started like, I'm gonna start flipping now, and because I know trades, and now I'm managing a flip that I don't want any part of, that I should be entitling a lot that'll make me 3 times the money. So that's, find your niche, become an expert in it, and all that information's out there. Like with land, the nice thing is the cities want you to build. They put all of the information available. If you go to planning and zoning departments, they put out their zonings, the lot splits, the setbacks, all of it's there, just most people don't want to spend the time reading through that kind of stuff. So pick a lane, whether it's mobiles, sub twos, creative, just do that and become an expert at it, and you'll feel like you're slowing down because this guy was selling to hedge funds and he's making a killing, so you're like, maybe I should do hedge funds now, and then the hedge funds stop buying and you're just nowhere. But yeah, pick a lane.
In the age of
Shiny object syndrome. Yeah, I was going to say exactly what Anthony did, pick a lane, but everyone's trying to do so many different things and nothing's sticking. You don't stick to something consistently, it's never going to work. But if you're starting out, I feel like everybody needs to go direct to seller. That's like your entry level elementary school. It's where you're going to cut your teeth the most and actually learn something and go through the process of something extremely fucking hard. Talking to sellers and getting told to go fuck yourself, or going through an entire thing, or it's the best thing you could possibly do. Getting into real estate investing is going direct to the seller, and I feel like that's, if you're a newbie, that's how everybody should start, is going right directly to the seller and sticking with that over a long duration of time, because that will eventually get into middle school, which is flipping, high school, which is, you know, land, mobiles, whatever it is. You have to progress into things. My 6-year journey wasn't, you know, done overnight. I started going direct to seller, calling, meeting with homeowners, shaking hands, and it's the best thing you can do, and it's the best experience that you can get.
Anthony, what's the craziest or most unexpected thing that's ever happened during a deal? Something that actually made you step back and question, like, fuck, is this for me?
I mean, it's all just kind of par for the course at this point. I've never had a moment where like, this is for me, but so many people die in the middle of a deal, or you're having to remove a squatter that's threatening to come to your house and kill you and all that kind of stuff. So it's always, I enjoy it though. I thrive in the chaos. I'm kind of broken as a person. So it feels good to me.
He's
like,
crazy.
I enjoy, like when shit's hitting the fan, I'm like, all right, there we go. But just learning to be uncomfortable when the room's on fire, because there will be months where you will lose money. Like I've lost a lot of money on a lot of different months, and when you feel like you're never gonna do it, then you rip $100K that next month, and it just made up for those 3 months that you just lost money on mortgages. So it's just consistency will outperform every time. It's just the longer you're in the game, the more likely you are to win.
Repeat that, please.
What's the craziest or most unexpected thing that's ever happened during a deal? Something that made you step back and say, fuck.
I don't know if I have anything like that, to be honest with you.
No deals. Except for our current one. I can hear you over there.
Okay, what's the current one?
We have a current deal.
He died.
He died.
No power of attorney.
Yeah, no power of attorney. The power of attorney is now invalid. It's a $120K banger, and we're fucked.
We're the heirs.
Heads up, by the way.
Yeah,
But there is the power of attorney. We're going through probate, but it's fucked.
So this is what's so cool about my team, is I don't know anything about this shit. They just handle it, and that's what building a great team is all about. And you don't find that very easy.
We really didn't want to tell you about that one, so that's why you don't know anything about that one.
Thanks. There you go, that's it. Now I'm stepping back.
We'll let you know when it closes.
We'll
Thanks.
fix it. I'll fix it. It's fine.
My craziest thing was honestly recently, which was the absolute most nuts thing ever, and we bought 3 mobile homes sight unseen with occupants in it, and you should always verify the occupant that's in it, and it's a huge learning experience for me too, because I've never been through something like this. And the occupant that was in there, we go to evict, and these people some of these people in Mesa are literally professional scammers. They know the law inside and out, and it's the craziest thing I've ever fucking seen. Kurt and I, you know, talk about it every other day because it's that fucking crazy. But we go to file an eviction, and this occupant claims that he has ownership in the property, which we think is complete bullshit. And the day before the eviction hearing, he works with a notary and fraudulently creates a deed, and gets a deed from 2 years ago with a property owner and records it against the property, showing that he is a legitimate owner from the old property owner. So the eviction court says, whoa, we can't evict, we have an ownership issue, you guys need to go sort that out. Now we hire keep in mind we spent money on an eviction attorney, now we go and get our other attorney to sue him for a quiet title action, which shows, hey, your claim is invalid. We send notices to the notary as well to show his ledger, showing that it should be done legitimate, which it wasn't. So now we sue the notary's insurance policy as well to recuperate money from that. And we're probably $10,000 to $20,000 into it with legal fees. And, you know, but I never think I freaked out at one point, or even Kurt freaked out. It's just kind of like what Anthony says, you become immune to all this stuff. And you just have this kind of stoic mentality of like, whatever the fuck comes my way, it's like, I'm going to relax and figure it out. Because that's all you can do.
The dog in the room's on fire around him. It's like, this is fine. That's what
Yes.
you become in real estate.
Exactly. So all these, And it's a learning experience again, because we never verified the occupants. We never knocked a door. There could have been further due diligence, so I take it as the learning experience. And if we're ever in the situation again, we know what to do, and that it is what it is. So.
Did you buy it without title insurance?
No, we bought that with title insurance, but the title insurance has nothing to do with it. So.
Okay. Well, moving into that, as you needed relationships there, we all know that real estate is a actual people business. You need people
For sure.
in order to do real estate. What is your secret to building relationships that lead to better deals, partnerships, or opportunities?
I really like roasting my friends a lot. So find people you can roast.
We like to roast you too.
Yeah, a lot. I get roasted a lot more than I put it out. But I think leading with value. I never go into something and message someone, hey, give me this, or send me this course. It's like me messaging John, hey, give me this course. I always want to, what can I do for John to get his time, get his attention, whatever. If I'm just starting out, I have nothing to offer. That's my money that I'm leading with value to John for. I'm paying John money to get his time. It shows a sign of respect for that he's a busy guy and he has stuff going on. I want to be around him, and how do I be around a guy like that? Well, if I don't have resources or other stuff, I need to bring value. And if you're always leading with value in everything that you do, people are just going to start gravitating towards you. And they're going to want you to win.
I like that.
Understanding how to talk to people, it's a big one, because everyone thinks, oh, I know how to talk to people. I talk to people all the time. But truly being able to speak to someone in the way they want to be spoken to help them see that their end goal is achievable through you. So I'm a big proponent of studying transactional analysis. It's psychology, and it became like Sandler's selling system is based on TA, and a lot of the selling systems, John Martinez, is based on TA. So if I went back to the root and started reading books like Games People Play, I'm Okay, You're Okay, and you can start to understand, oh, I'm talking to someone that's in a child ego state right now. I need to bring them back to an adult, or they're coming at me critical parent, fuck you, why are you calling me? And there's some little tricks you learn how to diffuse that situation, like, oh, it sounds like I've upset you. Something as simple as a well-placed label will make them either realize they're being an asshole or stop because it's a pattern interrupt, and they've never had someone do that, because most people are like, oh, you're an asshole, and they go back at that. So if you come real soft and late night DJ voice is what Chris Voss calls it, and it changes the whole dynamic, because a lot of people don't want to actually listen to what you have to say. They want to talk, so let them talk, and they tell you how to sell them. So that's something big that I've taken over the years, is learning how to talk to people the way they want to be spoken to.
Back in 2019, before COVID actually hit, we were attending every meetup there was, and the entire team went. That was huge. We met a lot of good people. We did a lot, and we were only in Phoenix and Tucson at the time. We had not gone nationwide. I actually gained a very valuable partner out of that through a network meeting, and then we split. He is no longer with us today, but he was a good partner at the time, and that was just through networking. At the same time, it taught me how to wholesale, because we were getting so many deals that we couldn't put out on the plate. Novations weren't really around at the time, but I come to find out we were doing them anyway. And so he taught us that. At the same time, when you get in rooms with caliber of people, like some of these people that are here, you learn from that. And you got to make friends with those. One thing cool about Arizona and Phoenix, everybody is here to help each other, it seems like. They're not doing this competitive thing. We're on a ride, Tony and I, this weekend, and there's a couple others, with a gentleman out of Houston. And he says, you can't go talk to anybody in Houston. Everybody is feuds and fights. We don't have that here in Phoenix, so you guys are very lucky to have that. We all want to give, and we try to give value, and it seems like the coaches give. What do you laugh at?
Nothing.
What'd you do now?
Some
Some
people.
people view.
I'm kidding.
I agree, and I like that. I think we live in a pretty good state. People are cool.
Well, look at all the gurus that are moving here. I mean,
Yeah.
these guys just came here, you and Eric.
He's a guru.
I ain't no guru.
He's a guru.
Nick Perry just moved here.
He's a guru.
Yeah. Some of the big boys, they're all wanting to come to Phoenix. Why, I don't know. But
They say it has something to do with proximity.
I don't get that.
Not when you live in Cave Creek. That's,
You live in East Mason.
Hey,
yeah, right.
down back there.
He's always making fun of me.
Well, John, you've obviously had a ton of success, obviously. How did you go from your first deal to building a portfolio or the career at scale, and what were key shifts that made that happen?
I have to go back to what Danny said. I was working a job full time for I don't know how many years, building up the portfolio before I actually stepped out of my full time job with my mentor. And I got lucky because my mentor became my partner. But that was a key moment. In 05, 06, when the market was doing this here in Phoenix, that's when we got an offer to buy a lot of our portfolio. My partner and I, we sold off our entire portfolio at that time. Biggest mistake in my life. Went into developing land and making gated communities, building $1 million homes. Got caught in 08. That was a whole nother pivot point. We got caught with 2 lots, thank God, no houses. So that helped. We got rid of those. I wanted to start building back a portfolio. And we fell into assisted living homes because rentals didn't work at that time. Prices were too high in Phoenix. You couldn't get rent to work, but assisted living homes you did when you're getting, you know, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 per bed, and we were using 10-bed homes. We built that portfolio up. My wife and I ran that for about 9 years, as well as we had other rental properties, not lease option at that time, but rentals. And really, one of the biggest pivots for me is when I got out of that and we did the 1031 exchange and sold those houses. One of those houses, I was actually buying it with a lease and option. That's what really pushed me into taking all my rental properties and turning them into lease with options. And that's what we did. And then we just took it one step further. When they exercised the option, now we turned it into seller financing and become the bank.
So you were the leasee before you were the leaseor.
Yeah, I was. Yep, a lot of pivoting points.
What's the question?
You've had a little bit of success.
Okay.
What was how'd you go from first deal to building the portfolio or career at scale, and what were key shifts that made the scale happen?
Well, once again, most of the time I don't know what I'm doing, so I'll just figure that out as I go. And like John said, you just take action, because I'm not going to over analysis paralysis something. I'm just going to take the action and course correct as I go. That's how my entire business was built, is not knowing what I'm doing every single day and just doing the actions that I know I'm supposed to be doing and correcting as I go. And I would say another big thing is like bookkeeping. For a long time, my finances were really bad business-wise. I couldn't tell you all the money I was making. I said there's more money in the bank account last month than there was. There's more money in the bank account this month than there was last month. That's how I was able to tell people how I made money. But if you get a good bookkeeper and really do your finances right, you can actually make data-driven and educated decisions and forecast your finances and actually project things and run your thing like a real business and know, hey, I have X amount of money in accounts receivable coming down the pipeline. I could hire X amount of people. I can buy X amount of marketing. So if you can get on that earlier, knowing finances, accounting better, it's going to help you become a better business owner.
That's a nugget. That's a good nugget.
Was just always big on cash reserves and not, I would set small goals, like once I hit 100K liquid, I could buy this luxury item I want, and reinvesting the money back into the business and realizing the money in the business isn't my money. Because if I start treating it like a bank account and just pulling cash out whenever I want, that's a sure way it's going to fail, because you're going to have your bad months. So reinvesting in the business, paying myself a small salary, and then keeping my personal account very empty so I'd still be hungry every day. Because it's a mindset shift. If I wake up, I'm like, oh, I got 10 grand in my personal account, I got to go hustle. It doesn't matter how much is in the business account. It changes. It's been a mindset shift for me. And then staying away from all the luxury stuff, because when you have, $500,000, $1 million liquid in a bank account, you're like, oh, I could go buy that Ferrari. I could go buy that. And it starts to mess with you. But if you set these mile markers, like I'm not buying another truck until I hit this amount, and then I can depreciate that off the business, and setting those goals is what's kept me alive, and when down months hit or bad times hit.
What about guns?
Those are necessities.
Okay.
It's
like having a fire extinguisher.
They are assets.
Until I beat the shit out of them, but
If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice before your first deal done, what would it be and why?
I wouldn't have listened to myself anyways. I'm hard-headed. I like to learn through failures. It's just that's how I am. But going back and then just believing in yourself a little bit sooner, a little bit more, take the leap sooner. Thankfully, I had a good friend around, Jesse Burrell, who owns Baptist Skip Racing, and he saw that I had the potential before I did. So being around people that see greatness in you can bring out a side of you that you didn't, because I didn't believe in myself. He's like, every time you're going to go do plumbing, how many phone calls could you have made? Could you have closed one deal that month to make you 3 times the amount you're gonna do? And just having someone believe in you when you don't believe in yourself is pretty powerful.
Yeah, I agree. I love that.
Yeah. Starting sooner than when I did, and staying in the lane. I didn't stay in the lane. I kept pivoting back and forth and moving around. If I would have stayed in the lane, I'd be so much further ahead than we are today, even though we're doing okay, but it could have been a lot further ahead. And that's what I preach to everybody that is my associates here. Stay in your lane. If you want to build a portfolio, work here, we'll get you that portfolio, but stay there and keep going. If you're gonna go wholesale, and that's what you like doing, it's a grind, but you can make a shitload of money doing it. Find your lane.
Making sure that I'm taken care of personally. So that's health-wise, that's my fitness, that's good relationships, whether that's good partnerships, personally especially, a spouse and whatnot, because I've been in bad relationships that have ruined my day-to-day. So if you're not good personally, that's all going to trickle down into your business, and you're not going to be the best person for your business, because like Anthony said, like you and the business, they're two completely separate entities. So if you personally are not good, then your business is not gonna, you serving your business is gonna be a disservice, because it's not gonna get the best time and energy that it needs, because you yourself, you're not right personally. So get yourself right personally before anything else.
Okay.
And I'd like to comment on that. Having a spouse behind you that supports you. I've been married for 31 years, going on 32. My wife supports what I do and never questions it. She believes in me. That's freaking huge.
Amen, Michelle.
Amen.
I don't even know where she is.
Everyone likes to talk about trends, but let's talk about one piece of real estate that you think people are completely ignoring right now that is about to be on the verge of explosion in the next 5 years.
Share buyouts. That's my biggest thing right now. It's totally uncharted. It's extremely risky. You're fronting, and the barrier to entry is way fucking higher. So these people, I believe that people aren't going to be able to legitimately enter this space, because you can't just go and sign off on a hard money loan. You can't, I'd say it's even hard to raise it privately. So it's completely untapped. It's unregulated. So buying out percentages of the home is I think it's a next big thing, but at the same time, you can't just easily enter it, because if a property's worth, for example, the one we're doing, it's as is value is 100, as is value is 250,000. We got one share for 50,000, and then we front another $10,000 in legal costs for 6 to 9 months. So you have to front, $60,000 to $100,000 on your own cash on some deals. But when we go to sell that property through a court proceeding, 250,000 divided by 2, since we have 50%, we're going to get 125,000 back, minus the $60,000 of our cost basis, what we put into the deal. That's a leftover profit of $65,000. So look it up, and this is stuff that's it's another tool in the tool belt for when you're calling these motivated sellers, especially if you go direct to seller. You'll come across these crazy fucking situations.
I personally think it's land. There is a few people in it. It's getting more, I think, because it is hot. It's a hot item. It's easy. You don't have emotion in it. We have now introduced land into our office. We're doing it a little bit different because we're wanting to seller finance it back out to get the mailbox money again. is what we're after, so we're not looking at wholesaling it. You buy it at one price and you finance it at another. So that's what we're doing. So I think it's in land more so than anything, and getting out of the houses.
This may come as a shock, but the land guy's gonna say land.
Land.
No.
I know, it's hard to believe, but, so the certain types of land too. So with the pullback, we saw a lot of institutional buyers not picking up multifamily land because it was so overbuilt. But anytime you have that, curve start heading in one way, now it's gonna revamp because there's gonna be a shortage of multifamily coming on market. So there are big groups buying large pieces of land, or not even buying, they lock it up on a long option period. They give the seller 10 grand to lock it up on an option for 3 years and wait for that market to start rebounding back. You have companies like MC companies out of Scottsdale, that is Ken McElroy's company. He was the guy that Robert Kiyosaki invests with, and they're buying big tracts of land and sitting on it because they know in the next 3 to 5 years that inverse is gonna rebound, and now all that multifamily land that they're stealing right now is gonna come back pretty crazy. But also, like John's talking about, we do that as well. We buy land outside of major cities in the path of progress. We lock it up, say 10, 15 grand, and then we sell it on seller financing for 25 to 30. We get 15% down. I have no money in the deal, and it cash flows. Like I'm very frugal on how I spend my money, and I wouldn't buy myself anything nice until the cash flow was there. And because I have lots like that, that covers the nice car I bought. That's like my luxury spending comes in mailbox money from doing exactly that. So
And you just bought a nice car.
yeah, irresponsible.
Right.
Porsche.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet ride.
Yeah.
Porsche.
Germans would be so mad if I say it wrong. It's a Porsche.
You guys blew through that. I didn't even think I was gonna get through all of those questions. So, I'm gonna go one more off the cuff and then I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna ask a traditional, scripted question. Each one of you, I don't care who starts, can you tell me anything you think I should have asked that I didn't ask that we should know about you?
Actually, someone always asks what's one, in a group discussion, what's one thing that people don't know about you that you don't post or do anything. Which one thing for me is I actually wrestled my whole life. So throughout high school, middle school, high school, college, that was one of the biggest things I was invested in. And I actually coached wrestling at Mesa High School with Anthony Robles, the guy that won the D1 Nationals with one leg. And he was the guy I looked up to when I was super young, and that was a really cool experience for me, and they just made a movie about him, so I had a great time connecting with him and coaching wrestling again, so that's a fun fact about me that no one knows, I guess, since I don't post about it too much. College was 157, pretty much all 4 years, so.
Yeah, your ears are intact.
Yeah, I wore my headgear, so, yeah, that's why I'm not as ugly, so.
Matt's not here, but Matt, was a cage.
Matt's here.
Oh, Matt
Oh,
is
nice.
here. Matt's
Cool.
here. His ears are not intact.
Yeah.
But he was a cage fighter, so.
Nice.
A little bit different. Whew. John,
That's a good question.
I I'm full of them.
Yeah. I grew up with a single mom. She was a beast. Grew up in the trucking business, the heavy haul business. We used to haul the bulldozers, cranes, things like that. So that's what I did as a kid, washing trucks, washing trailers, worked in the yards, that kind of thing. She ran that truck line up to 300 trucks, dealing with truck drivers. So it was quite the experience, and that's where I got my entrepreneurship. She was my guiding angel there, no question.
I grew up single mom as well, but she was struggling with some of her addictions, so I grew up in a very rough area, surrounded by some very rough people. Got into a life of crime, if you will. Caught a felony at 18, lived a very hard life, and took a long time to rebuild from that. But one thing I've learned is drug dealers actually, or former drug dealers, or current, whatever, they make really good salespeople because you're used to high risk, high reward. So you're willing to throw money at something that most people normally wouldn't because you have that belief that you'll figure it out. So that's my background story. Most people think that I'm just a good old boy, and then they find out I was a troublemaker for many years.
I love that. Well, thank you guys for sharing. I really appreciate it. I'm sure everybody does, and I hope somebody got something from somebody. I'm going to open it up to questions, and hopefully we have a lot of questions so we can really get to know these guys.
Yeah.
What's the most well-concealed lie that you were ever given by a seller?
Oh, man. Get off the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Question.
Everything.
Yeah, they will always overinflate what their house is worth. They'll tell you that it's in perfect condition. We've walked in and found mold, found walls missing, no HVAC. I mean, if they're a seller, they're a liar.
Pretty much.
Well, we had one that was, they told us there was a house, there wasn't a house.
There wasn't.
Oh yeah, no house there.
We showed up and there was no house.
No house. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Good question.
We had another one
Don't be
that
shy.
the guy came to us, needed to sell it, and then he ghosted us. And we couldn't figure out why he ghosted us. Jason got to looking, and he went to prison for killing his significant other.
Jeez.
And
then our contract was invalid because he was under duress.
yeah, yeah, we ended
He was
up,
on the run.
yeah, that was a strange one. So,
I signed a guy in jail.
we signed him in jail.
Yeah.
That's not a problem, but yeah, Dad took this one over and it was a pain in the butt, and they said he was under duress when he signed the contract, so we had to let the contract go. And we actually had, really? We actually had an attorney involved in that one too.
I've had a lot of people lie too about personal issues, cancer, their mom died, their dad died. You'll get every sob story they can to try to either get out of a deal because they have someone else offering them more money, or like Tony's got great content out there of how many people have tried to back out that you had to go in and break them down. Like, wait, let's really dig into this. Okay. Do you have your mom's obituary by chance? I just want to look it up.
Those are my
I've had people
favorite
lie
calls.
about cancers, all sorts of things, trying to tear at your heartstrings because someone's trying to go around you on the deal.
yeah. Yep.
John, what's the best place you're finding lease to purchase buyers?
Buyers, we use a system called Inago, which is a landlord software, absolutely free, doesn't cost the landlord anything. It turns around and has multiple websites in their marketing that you can blast out on. It also has Zillow. We don't like the way they put Zillow out, so we use Zillow directly, and then Facebook. Facebook is huge in certain areas, like in Arizona. Facebook is huge in Tucson, sucks in Phoenix. So those are our big areas that we're putting out. We put it out as a rent to own, and then we describe to them once they call us about the lease with the option, and then how to buy it.
All of the land we do on seller financing is all Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
The Hispanic community loves Facebook Marketplace, so if you have someone on the team that speaks Spanish and can post it in Spanish, we've had great success. All the mailbox money is normally from Hispanic buyers, and they never miss payments. They're proud to own the land, and they treat it like a bank account. They're never gonna sell it, so.
Same thing with houses. They're great. Yeah.
Did you profit on that entitlement deal?
The entitlement, yeah, it was a very small profit when it was all said and done. I was looking at making 100 on it, which would be a 30% return is how I factored in. I was like, that's worth it. Ended up making like 30 grand on it, but we're positive on that one. But market shifted hard, and we're lucky to get what we did.
So you were saying that in order, for your business to succeed, you kind of have to separate you versus your business. So this is kind of like a two-part question, right? So the first one is, I guess, what do you guys personally do in order to kind of break away from that? And then second of all, at what point was there a time where you're like, damn, this isn't working out, I don't think this is for me, and what did you do to overcome that?
Yeah, just every morning.
What do you think?
I'll jump on it first. Paying myself a payroll, and I live off that payroll, you know what I mean? So I have very strict spending based on that payroll. So now at the end of the year, ownership draws and bonuses, you can, treat yourself if you had a really good year. But yeah, setting my business apart from myself and treating myself as a W-2 employee and holding myself to the same standards I would any of my other acquisition guys in that role. Because it's easy to, when you start making good money, you start slacking because the team's carrying the load or whatever, and you're not fulfilling your role. So that's being honest with yourself, and am I really achieving what I need to today?
For me, it's, knowing what your lifestyle actually costs. So having good personal finances, because if you are a reckless spender and, you can't track your personal finances or anything, that's going to morph into reckless business spending as well. So knowing that, and then my one other little hack is like from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., my phone's always on Do Not Disturb. I don't do any business. That's my time to work out. That's my time for me because no deals, no wholesalers getting up, no sellers are being called. Like 6 to 8 a.m. is like my holy 2 hours is what I call them because I can go to the gym and I can truly be completely silent. Anytime from 8, in my opinion, 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., those are all legitimate business hours. Deals can get done, but deals do not get done from 6 to 8 a.m. And the banks aren't even open, so you can't even send money. So I found that those are my most gracious kind of 2 hours that I look forward to.
Yeah, I would say definitely having the separation to the point that not necessarily office hours because we are in real estate, so that we take calls at night and weekends to some degree. My phone goes off at 10 o'clock. I don't do anything after 10. But having a personal release. My wife and I like to travel. We like to go ride Harleys. We do a lot of off-roading. We were into boats for a long time. We like to have that recreation, and we really utilize it and keeping that division there. Tony.
What's the biggest deal you've ever done? Most money on a single deal?
250,000 off a 36-unit trailer park in Sedona. That was last year.
How
So
long
that
did
was,
it take you to do that?
less than 60 days.
Wow,
So yeah,
that's
that
awesome.
was pretty sweet. The buyer put down a $60,000 non-refundable deposit, so
Wow.
he was pretty credible. So that
Yeah, those
worked
are-
out well.
Few and far between, but.
And it was from a seller that, real quickly, it was from a seller that shitty campaign that we pulled, and we called a seller, and every single thing on our script, and you guys should add this, whether you're calling, someone else is calling, if you add, do you have any other properties you're looking to sell? That's where that lead actually came from. Because we called the guy, he said, no, I'm not looking to sell. Do you have any other properties to sell? He said, I actually work for a trailer park, and I think the owners are looking to sell. And here's their information. And that's how we end up getting that deal, which is crazy. So
That's hard for us to say because most of our stuff's buy and hold. So that's huge, yeah, it's different. I would say the biggest option fee that we've ever taken is $30,000, and that was paid upfront, which was huge. Our biggest cash flow that I can think of is about $1,800 a month in positive cash flow for one door. So that's huge. As far as wholesaling and novations,
Like 82 grand, I think was the biggest. Like right
so yeah, but we don't.
don't be that guy.
The key is we don't do a lot of that. That's not our forte. Yeah, we run two different sides of the business, so we do something totally different than a wholesale operation does.
450,000 is an entitlement play that we assigned, so that was on an assignment. The buyer on that one actually, I believe, tried to go around us, but thankfully our documents are very squared away, and we have some great attorneys. And then the wholesaler that brought that to me, I believe he made 100,000 on it just for finding the deal. It was a JV deal.
Congrats, dude. Congrats.
I'm gonna go off script here. Your biggest deal.
Yeah, Tony.
Single deal, 168 grand was a novation in North
How
Carolina.
long did it take to close?
That was probably like 3-4 months or something. It was owner occupied, which some people are scared of, but we explained the novation process to her. They were building a new build house and they needed to close at a certain time to take their funds from the sale of their home to buy the house they were building. The lady was a little manic, but so was my mother, so I could talk to her. I knew how to speak to her, but I had long conversations with that seller through those 4 months. She was freaking out. But ultimately, I found a buyer. He ended up being a cash buyer too on a novations. It was an $800 and something thousand property.
If you really want to look at some wild stuff, if you have access to Monsoon or the tax records, there are guys that are pulling multiple millions on lot flips with just getting things entitled. So anytime I feel like I'm doing well, I get on there and you'll see these random LLCs that are out of Delaware that you can't pierce if you want to, and multiples of millions. There's a guy I believe in Texas who just made right around 60 million by taking, he did a parcel assemblage where he got multiple lots, got it rezoned industrial, and and a giant industrial buyer came in and bought all of it, and he made $60 million on it. So there's some wild stuff in entitlement of land and understanding it, but I'm sure they fronted a lot of money to get it there, but especially 2020, 21, 22, we are seeing insane lot numbers just of people double escrowing. You'd see, close the next day and you see, okay, it sold for 3.5, they got it for 1 million. It was wild for a while. Like Tonopah, I believe it was around $100 to $200 million acquisition price. They're building a movie studio filming complex in Tonopah right now that most people don't know about, and all the land around it was just selling for crazy numbers. Same with solar farms. We caught it right at the tail end, too late unfortunately, but solar farms were paying crazy money for land. And if you know how to use like overlay like the power lines, you could go find these lots, and we had one that we thought we were gonna break all our records with, but it was too little too late and the market shifted and
Wow.
nature of the beast. Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, no doubt. It's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs are pretty much grinders by nature. Burnout is the thing that you hear a lot of them say. What are your guys' thoughts on work-life balance? How have you found that?
I'm the wrong person to ask. All I know is work, and I've gone through burnout a few times where I just overdo things. Like when everyone was doing 75 hard, I'm like, oh, that week I'm gonna do an entire year. So I did for an entire year, ended up fucking up my hormone levels, and that was fun. But I overdo things. But yeah, finding the work-life balance is like Danny does, having that time where you can decompress and focus on yourself is really, really important.
I have to say that you gotta have that balance. Bottom line is we take time to do stuff. Weekends are mine typically. The team can tell you I'm a workaholic to the point that I go home at night. She gets mad because I'm sitting on my computer. Sometimes I'm just scrolling, but most of the time I'm looking at different classes that are out there, different entrepreneurs that are doing different deals. What's he doing? What's he doing? Because something's always new and different. Things are changing, and you've got to stay with the times of real estate, or you're not going to be around. Tony's been at it for a while. You've been at it for a while. I've definitely been at it for a while because I've changed. You've got to change. You see a lot of people come and go in this industry because they don't change. They get in that one lane, but they don't change the channels of that lane. Okay.
I saw that big with the hedge funds, because a lot of people were
Yeah.
locking stuff up at 95%, selling to hedge funds, and
They
it was
turned
the
the key off.
hotness, and then it came to a grinding halt. We saw it with the entitlement of lots. It's now just coming back, our largest entitlement to date, set to close around May. It's for 380 units, but you never know what's gonna really happen, but we were able to save that because the market shifted. The buyer came in and realized instead of doing luxury apartments, they could do more of affordable housing. That one fell out of escrow a few times, and it's been going on for a year and a half, so it's been being able to shift with the market and figure out what's gonna work next is huge.
Yeah, and if you're in a season of life where you just are grinding that year, then that's the season that you're in. Like I was in a season of life for a couple years where I was getting a lack of sleep, my health was not good, but that was a sacrifice I had to make at the time because that was the season that I was in, and I was working towards building those other things up to where, yes, I can sit back a little more, which I absolutely don't. I still work like crazy, I leave the office, I'm looking for other deals, I'm filming shit with Joe, I'm always proactively doing something. It's just the way that I'm wired, but I think identify what season you're in. And
Did you guys do something similar when you started? So when I first got started, if it wasn't gonna make me healthier or wealthier, I completely cut it out. There was no more Netflix, there was no music in the car, I was listening to podcasts. Like,
Yep.
what are you willing to sacrifice for the life you want? Everyone in the beginning is like, oh, I need work-life balance. I was all in all day long, 7 days a week, and that's how you propel yourself way faster. It's like pulling a slingshot back. Everybody else is out at the bar having fun, partying, and I was grinding. I was studying sales. So naturally, I'm an introvert. Being on talking to people gives me anxiety. Doing shit outside of my bubble gives me anxiety. But your biggest weakness can become your most perceived weakness could be your greatest strength when you push through it. So realizing work-life balance will happen, but in the beginning, sacrifice all that shit, cut it all out, and next thing you know, you're blowing past everybody that was out partying and acting like they had all the money in the world.
and if you're smart, you'll work at the bar so you can make money and talk to girls, so you don't lose that side of it. So
When I first got started, I mean, yes, I was working a 50, 60-hour a week job, but to make it happen, I was working that full time. I worked the rentals full time, building that. It damn near cost me on my marriage. because I was working so much. I quit what I was doing. I was in the retail business, selling diamonds is what I did. So our store was open from 10 to 9 o'clock at night, and our shifts changed. If I wasn't at work, I was doing something with the rentals and had to. And that's when you had to go out and collect rental money and get the cash up front. They didn't send it to you like they do today. So it was a grind, and you just have to bite the bullet and go. It doesn't happen overnight. That's easy. It doesn't happen overnight. I want to put a quick question. Go ahead.
You good?
Yeah, go.
Keep going,
I had a
please.
question for Tony. When you guys are talking innovations,
I'm not on the panel.
when you guys are talking about innovations, some say, you guys lock up the deal pretty well, obviously. You can flip it off an RVP, whatever. What we are doing right now with some sellers, like, you guys lock up this deal, we could done ourselves, we could list it our own, whatever it is. How are you kind of mitigating that? So it's like, okay, yeah, we locked up that deal, but hey, you signed a contract, like this is what you locked in for.
You know what my answer
I
is,
know,
so I'm going to put it back to you.
So when you have that big ass spread and they like, I want some of that, how do you kind of mitigate that and say, hey, like, this is what's gonna happen?
Do you do innovations?
No, but we have that same issue when someone sees us lock up a lot for $1 million and we go flip it for 1.3 or something because we put the risk, and it's explaining to them, you didn't have the money, you didn't have the expertise, and obviously you don't say it the way I'm saying it now, you do it with a little more tactical empathy, but we took the risk, this is what we do, we didn't know this was gonna work, and if it didn't work, and we spent $40,000 in getting this approved, and it didn't work, how would you feel if I came back to you and asked for 40 grand, you told me to pick rock? This is the risk we took as a business, this is what we did, and you got the number you wanted when nobody else would pay it for you. And like, one big thing is subjugating your ego, and if there's better people in the industry that are better at sales, like I can't tell you how many of your one-liners and stuff I've used on calls, because I love the way that he sounds when he says it. So finding around people around you, you'll learn how to handle those objections, because somebody else has probably already gone through it, and hopefully they put it out in content and you can start picking up on that. But explaining to them the value you're truly bringing. Like, yeah, you could have done this, but you didn't. We did this. That's why we're getting paid for it.
Do you innovate?
I don't, but I know like with my deals, like the share buyout stuff like that I do, and I don't know if you can do this with novations or not, but I get a legitimate deed notarized and signed from the seller. So you are not going anywhere because I am the owner. So when I do the share buyouts, there is no, and I don't even have to record it right away. I could have it in my back pocket, but there is no going elsewhere with someone else. There is no going around you because I'm the person on the tax records. So I legitimately have a deed signed that I record against the property, transferring the ownership to me.
And sometimes you just gotta, I'm trying to find a better way to say this because it's inappropriate. But I'm gonna say it anyways. Sometimes you just gotta put your dick on the table. And this is how it's gonna be. Like, sometimes it gets to a point where you have to send a demand letter and you say, you're going to honor this agreement. I've already got time, effort, and energy into this deal, and you think I'm just gonna back out, I'm not. Sometimes you do have, business is war. At the end of the day, whatever reason they're giving you why they need more money is probably bullshit. It's probably someone else offering them a higher price, and sometimes you do have to be a little savage. Like, look at all of the wealthiest people in the world. They're kind of savages, and sometimes you have to be if you want to get that life you want.
Yeah, to answer your question so the rest of the group gets it, we come in, for our novations, it's an a la carte type scenario, is how we present it. They're not having to pay any repairs. If there's repairs that need to be done, they're paying no commissions. We are guaranteeing them a net number when it closes. That's the bottom line. No realtor's gonna do that. They're gonna price it clear up here because they want higher commission. They're gonna overprice it. They're gonna start asking for price reductions. It's gonna be on the market for X amount of days, way over what it should be, and they're never gonna sell it. And so then they're in the same boat 6 months down the road, and they come back and, oh, can you still give me that net number? No, probably not. But we do it as a net number. How do you do it, Tony?
That's the same, yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing we say about that too, we go into the timeline, how much commissions, closing costs,
Yes.
concessions, they'll have to pay your credits to a buyer. And we also say, there's no realtor on the planet that's gonna fix a foundation issue for you to
Right.
get your house sold. Like, that's where our value comes in.
Right.
But to get a property, we've never done a ton of novations. We've probably done a dozen of them or something, like a true novation, but out of those 12 we've done, I'll say all but 2 of them we double close, and it kind of just solves that problem. Like, I always double
Thanks, Tony.
Convenience, clarity.
Yep, exactly. I want to put a shout out to Tony. Thank you for coming. Thank you for bringing the group. Also, would you just give them a little synopsis about what you do and what your course is?
Yeah, well, not my
Yes.
course, but I do want to take a minute to recognize my guys that are here.
Please.
We got Jacob right here, Caden, and Lewis is somewhere. Right? Oh, can't see him.
Tell them what you've done since January 20th.
Yeah,
Blows my mind.
So we just, I just fired up another wholesale company, and we started a week and a half ago on old cold call leads that had been in our old CRM for 6 months to 2 years. And we just sent a text campaign out last week and again this week, and these guys have locked up 11 contracts for $311,000.
That's huge.
In just a week and a half, so, we have like big visions for this company, and I'm just trying to build a team of absolute all-stars and savages, and these guys have performed really, really well. Best team I've ever had, so if anybody in here is doing sales, wholesaling, definitely, connect with these guys, cause they're savages.
Well, if anybody like didn't realize what he said, these are old leads too, and the amount of deals that we pull out of Podio that are years old, like we had one that was a 65K rip, we've been following for over 3.5 years. So many people are like, I want that hot lead now, and then they just throw these leads away. These things take time. Like certain sellers you will talk to for 3 or 4 years before they're comfortable and ready. It's just the nature of the game.
Yeah, I think it was the first deal we locked up last week. I was looking back at like all the shit this lead's been through, and like our old CRM had texted it 80 times. It had been talked to by 4 different closers, and that's not to mention all the other cold callers that are calling it, all the other wholesale companies that are calling it. And I was telling Eric about it, we were like in tears laughing, because it's like this fucking person. It just took the right person on the phone to like, trust and want to do business with. It's
what it's
time and
about.
circumstances too. You know, if somebody, you know, isn't in the right time to sell their house over the phone, but, you know, they crashed their truck on Wednesday, they'll maybe sell the house on Thursday, so you just never know.
I know.
There's not a bad lead, is the point. If somebody's talked to a cold caller, filled out a form, they've said they wanna sell their house, we're making them homeless. We're stealing their house.
Any other questions?
Come on, keep going.
Yeah.
So I'm in a position now where I want to start buying rental units, and my target.
Don't buy rentals. That's my advice. Lease option only.
Okay. How does
Keep
one?
going with your question.
How does one get there though, with lease options?
If only you had a course for that.
Only if I did.
Yeah,
Don't you teach that?
I
it's a
think I
free
do.
month.
Yeah, the biggest thing, get on the course, get on the calls.
Even just the community.
The community is huge. Yeah, and then just working it from there. It is in the buy though, and it's in how you analyze the deal up front. So there's a lot of variation that gets there. You gotta be able, we have a calculator and it's free, it's on our website. You may not know how to use it, but you can call me on a one-on-one, I'll teach you how to use it. But analyzing the deal up front, making sure it's gonna cash flow. And I'm very conservative on my cash flows. The reason why, in 2023, my cash flow, or actually 2024, was almost $900 a door. It has now dropped to just a little over $600 a door because of insurance and taxes have gone up that much. And if I wasn't conservative on my deals, now I'd be buried, guys. Okay, I'd be going out of business and filing bankruptcy. But because I'm so conservative in what I do, I'll still take a little over $600 a door all day long. Okay, so it starts with analyzation of the actual property. You can buy them with no money out of pocket. Okay, if you're sitting there with Tony running deals all day long and you get deals that are happening, I don't know what the company policy is.
Oh, yeah, I told these guys this morning, like, you know, you inspired me with how you, with your team, where you're trying to get them to invest in real estate, like, that's the vision here.
Perfect, and if you've got that many leads coming in, I know his script is totally different than ours, and actually it's funny because I have your guys' script, and it's very, very, very similar to ours, We just put all our creative shit in also. So we just add to it. That's very hard to work with as a brand new person because you don't understand creative financing, okay? Learn creative financing, so when you look at the deal, you first look at it, kind of take it down. What does it cash flow? If it doesn't, that's why I use this calculator. If it doesn't, right away, you know when you're on the phone within 5 or 10 minutes after you have the information, if it doesn't cash flow, you already know you're going to a novation or wholesale, okay? You could do that with every deal that comes through that you're talking to right now.
Well, no, don't do that. We gotta get some goddamn money coming.
But from there, then it is learning how to do the lease with the options, marketing it, and then turning it into seller finance. It's a $900 course or $1,000 course, guys. It's worth it, and that's all in there. The key is I'm not one of those coaches that disappears. All of my students have my personal cell phone number, so you can get to me on questions.
And home address.
Probably. That's pretty easy to find anyway.
No, I'm kidding.
But yeah, get somebody that can teach you how to do it.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, just like Tony. I mean, he started out with rentals. Do you own any rentals anymore?
I got a couple left, yeah.
But he's talking to me and wants to do lease options. He wants to get out of the landlord bullshit.
Yeah, I think I don't know, 10, 11 rentals at one point, and like, people think, oh, I'm gonna buy all these rentals and I'm gonna retire off of it. It was the biggest fucking nightmare of my life.
Yes.
I didn't make any money on them, couldn't wait to sell them. So this round, definitely doing the lease option.
Yeah.
Way more appealing.
Yep, yeah.
Since the three of you got into the real estate space, right? Who was the biggest mentor that you looked up to?
My biggest mentor was a gentleman by the name of Dale Hillard. He is no longer with us either. He was actually the main broker for John Hall and Associates, went to West USA, and he was never in the investment space per se, but he's in the real estate game and knew how to do contracts. And he's the one who taught me how to do the sub-twos correctly. There's a lot of people out there teaching the wrong shit and you'll go to jail for it. He taught me how to do the true seller finance and how to structure it properly, because there's stuff you want in the language in the promissory note. My first deal that I had was that little triplex around the corner here. I bought it for about $61,000. This is on the course and it's on, I think it's on YouTube too. We bought it for $61,000. He taught me how to put a clause in there that we get first right of refusal if that seller goes to need money and need to sell that note. They came back to me 2 or 3 years later. They needed money. I got a $20,000 discount, so now I'm in at a $21,000 or a $41,000 basis of this particular house. This thing was cash flowing as a triplex. Several years later, we sold it for $214,000. So Dale was my main person. I've had other mentors. Another gentleman out of Florida, well, Ron LeGrand, obviously, if you guys know who he is. He's one of the major gurus when it comes to creative stuff out of Florida. Before I actually opened this office, I was trying to figure out the lease options better, and the Wolf couple came up across my feed somehow. They lived less than a mile away from me, and I got to talking with them, and they were one of the main trainers for Ron LeGrand. So after 3 or 4 talks with them, they said, hey, come talk to us. We want to make you a 50-50 partner in our real estate firm. I went, what the hell do you need me for? You've been teaching this stuff since 2003. The real estate office didn't have anybody. Everybody was out from a medical scenario, and it was family. So I partnered with them on a 50-50, went in, learned a shitload from Ron LeGrand and from them and their teachings about how they did some of this lease option stuff. So that's where I really learned a ton of it, and I knew I had to have it. So Ron LeGrand is a big mentor, even though I don't know him personally. I know his 2 main people that taught all his stuff and did all of his courses with him. So that was huge. There's another guy, I'm brain dead right now, it's in my office. He's out of Florida, the Power of Zero. And that is doing seller financing at 0% interest. And I use a ton of his stuff. And we're part of his stuff. And that was like $14,000 or $15,000 that it cost me to get in. And it's a lifetime deal. But, so I still have mentors. Joe McCall, there's a lot of people, he does land now. He was doing a lot of lease option stuff. He's doing land. We're on his land course. And we learned a ton from it. Because yes, I'm in the industry, but there's nuances and little things that will get you to the next level. Just listening to this guy when it comes to land, I love to pick his brain because he knows it up here.
And John was actually one of my first mentors when I got started way back in the day because I had no idea what I was doing. Just kept sending shit leads. I'm like, what do I do? That doesn't work. Go do this. Go pitch that. And then Steve Trang helped me try to learn more of the sales things. Jesse Burrell was a big mentor for me and a good personal friend and helped me get over some of my personal beliefs and stuff like that. Logan Fulmer out of Texas. A lot of people in books, you know, just because you don't actually know them doesn't mean they can't be a mentor. A lot of Danny, I've been able to pick his brain about mobile homes and how they do flips and stuff like that. So you start to build a community around you where you, Tony's, this is the first time I've ever met him, but he's been a mentor to me just with his sales approach, and we've used some of the lines and it's worked out great. So you don't need actual physical connection with the person to be a mentor, or just, you'll do a deal with somebody on a JV deal and you'll learn so much. Like some of these builders I've worked with, I'll pick their brains and say, hey, I sent you this lot, why didn't it work? Oh, you didn't factor in that I've got to pull the water main all the way down 7th Street here, and it's 1,000 foot of water main at $100 a foot. This is why. And now I know in the future that I need to make sure that the water meter's there, or the main's there, and is the tap there. And you start to learn through osmosis just by making people your mentor. Like if a deal doesn't work and they tell you no, ask them why.
My biggest thing was, two things was, like Jerry Norton, who's the biggest OG wholesaler ever, and you could literally go to that guy's YouTube channel and probably watch a video up to when you die. Like that's how much content there is. It's so much, and that was all I did for years starting out, is I would mix between when I would drive, I would watch a Steve Trang podcast all the way from the #1 from the start, and then I'd listen to Jerry Norton. And that was like my two main things from when I very first started, because it was just a person that has so much videos and so much information that you can just go down a rabbit hole of learning so much shit from.
How do you prevent the overload? Because there's so much information, it's just, for me, it's crazy.
Find the lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to pick a lane because there's so much information out there.
Yeah, because for me, it seems like I became just consumer of this information. And it's just so much. And it's like,
Well, mine was 9 to 5 was, hey, that's the action hours. That's calling sellers, doing what I need to do. My binge watching was in the off hours of, hey, instead of watching Netflix, let me throw on Jerry Norton for 2 hours. Instead of me driving and listening to music, let me listen to the Steve Trang podcast. So all those in-between hours is that information consuming on the I guess, action hours, you could call them.
And what's so crazy is, I mean, you got 4 big players in here. We all do something totally different. Totally different. And there's so many things you can do in real estate that we probably don't even know about.
Yeah.
And that's one reason why I continue to hit up different things, different podcasts and so forth, because you'll learn. I mean, Steve Trang's podcast is one of the biggest ones out there, and he pulls on some big players. Big players. And his podcast is not free. We have to pay to be on his podcast. But you have to be interviewed to actually get on it. So it's huge. You got a question?
So I know he got a little bit into it, and just to piggyback off of him, how do you guys balance that, like, action versus consuming?
When I first
Obviously in the beginning.
because I was working a job I was doing plumbing at the time, that's all I listened to was the educational stuff as I drove job to job or as I'm driving home. If I was at the gym, I was listening to, you can make fun of me if you want, I was listening to like affirmations and stuff like that to get over those limiting beliefs that I had. Like I listened to the same one every day. I am wealthy, I am rich, I am, all the things just to get over those limiting beliefs I had, and then I just found my lane, and that's when I started. Because right in the beginning, you're like, I don't know which way I want to go, so listen to all of it, figure out which one sounds the most appealing to you, and then cut out all the noise and just focus on that one and go find the top players in that lane.
Kind of tune into your station.
Exactly.
Guys, you have such an advantage than what I had back in '93. There was no internet. There was no coaches. There was nobody out there. I got so lucky to find my mentor that it was, God was looking after me. It's just not there.
What was black and white TV like?
Don't start like Tony. Tony, both of you. Yeah, so you guys are very lucky. I mean, but there is. Be careful who you're watching though. Making sure that it's actually real people.
wrapping questions? All right. You guys did an incredible job. We're right at 7.
Great job.
We can stick around and network for about another $30.
$30, cool.
Yeah, we'll hang out,
All right.
we'll network